Hello everybody, Drmixable here, and today I'm going to be going over the new masteries that are going to be coming in pre-season of Season 3. Right now I'm on the PBE, so it's all, beta. It's not really official. But I'm going to give you a look at some of the new changes. So let's start out with the offensive tree. I'm just going to go through the masteries first, and then I'm going to show you what I've got as some general pages. So like a general for AD, a general for AP, etc. So as you can see here, they've switched the damage ones. So deadliness and blast are now the second tier, and they also are per level instead of base, just flat. And instead they've flip-flopped them. So here used to be the cooldown and the attack speed, but instead they've flipped. Now as well, exhaust has the change where it reduces magic resistant armor instead of I forget what the old one was. So there's that. Garrison, allied garrison turrets deal 50% splash damage, but that's for Dominion only. A new spell, which is new, is increased damage to turrets, which is an additional 2.5%, which goes up to 5% if you level it up twice. So once you go from blast, you have to get the 4 in blast in order to unlock. Like, let's say you're making an AP page, you would have to get the 4 in blast in order to get the arcane knowledge, which is 8% magic pen. And same for deadliness. If you're making an AD page, you'd have to get all 4 in deadliness in order to get the 8% armor pen and weapon expertise. Next tier is Havoc is in that tier as well, and so it goes up to, let's see, don't remember. It goes up to 2% HP, or increased damage, sorry, I don't know why I said HP. And as well, you can go up to the lethality, I guess. And so that is extra critical strike damage. So that goes up to 5 extra critical strike damage for range and 10% for melee. And then from there, you can also build into Frenzy, which is an extra 10% attack speed for 2 seconds after landing a critical hit. So that's really good on people such as Draven, who has the already a critical bonus from his Q, and pretty much any AD. An extra 10% attack speed after landing a crit. Once you get that IE and Phantom Dancer, you're just going to be attacking so fast. So then in the AD page, you can also tier. You can also go through Brute Force, or you can go through Mental Force, which is the AP. So you can get up to either +3 attack damage or up to a total of +6 AP. And then also in this tier, there's another AP mastery, which is an extra 5% on your ability power in magic damage to target on each basic auto attack. So it's kind of like a Orianna passive, sort of. So based on your AP, you do a % extra damage in magic damage on your basic attack. So that's pretty sweet. If you're going AP, you can also now go into the 4th tier, which is lined up with Frenzy, which gives you 5% ability power or an extra 5 armor pen if you're going AD. And then you finish it off with Executioner, which instead of, I don't think it was 50% health, I think it was a little bit less before, but now an extra 5% damage to targets below 50%. So now we'll go ahead and go down the defense tree, and in here we've still got the other one, which improves Cleanse, Heal, Smite, and Barrier. Smite stayed the same. Barrier is a new summoner spell, and now it just increases the shield amount by 20, which, to be honest, isn't that much. I mean, it's okay early on, but late game, 20 HP is barely nothing unless you're getting away really luckily. So Cleanse is increased duration of disable reduction by 1 second, and Heal is increased health by 5 per level. So if you're carrying Heal and you have this summoner spell, by your level 18, you'll have almost 100 extra HP. So it's pretty good. It's kind of an incentive to carry Heal if you're building a tank or something. Now in the 1st tier, instead of having your armor or your resistances, those are moved up to the 2nd tier, and instead you have to choose between the following 3, which is Tough Skin, which is the reduced damage from monsters, and if you do pick that, you can get into the new, or you can get into Bladed Armor, which isn't new, my bad. Other than that, you have 2 options, which is Durability, so in health per level, you can get up to 108 HP at level 18. And that will also allow you to get Veteran Scars at the tier 3 level, which is 30 plus health. Then you can also go into Perseverance, which is +2 health regen per 5, based on missing health, and if you level it up all the way, that's up to 6 extra health regen per 5 seconds, based on your missing health. From there, you can grab your Resistances, which is up to 5 magic resist and up to 5 armor. Then at the tier 3, you can get veteran scars if you've gotten the durability at the first tier. You can also get safeguard, which is reduced damage from turrets, 5%. You can also get relentless, which is reducing the effectiveness of slows by 7.5%, going all the way up to 15 if you level it up twice. You can also grab unyielding, which reduces damage taken from champions by 1, up to 2, which isn't that great. I guess it can allow you to go up to block, which reduces damage taken from champion-based god attacks by 3. I mean, it seems kind of useful, I guess, but it's kind of too little damage to really be effective, especially later on. Like in top lane, that's really not going to do much because eventually the bruisers are going to hurt, and same with bottom lane. I don't know. It's hard to find a use for that, I would think. Next, you can grab Tenacious, which is reduced damage or duration of crowd control effects by 5%, going all the way up to 15%, and it stacks with Tenacity multiplicatively. Juggernaut increases your health by a total of 4% at max level. Then in the 4th tier, you can grab Defender, which grants an extra 1 armor and magic resist for each nearby champion, which in tier 4, it's kind of not that great for tier 4 because you have to put so many points in there and then you have to grab that, but there's so many better things. Like you can grab an increase in bonus armor and magic resist all the way up by 5% if you put it in legendary armor. Bear in mind that's 4 points that you have to put in, but I mean the max you can get from that is 5 armor and 5 magic resist for like if they're all there. So it's kind of weak. Good Hands, which is the less time spent dead, is now in the defense tree instead of the utility tree. It only has 1 point available to be put in, and it already takes you up to 10%. Reinforced armor reduces the damage taken from critical strikes, which can go up all the way to 10%. So that might be good if you're trying to pick a defense support, because you're going to be facing the AD and they're going to be doing critical strikes. So if you're reducing that damage by 10%, it's pretty good. And then finally, you can grab the final one, which is Honor Guard, which reduces damage taken from all sources by 3%. So now we'll go ahead and return our points and go into the utility tree, which is the final tree. And we can start with Summoner's Insight, which is similar to Summoner's Wrath and Summoner's Resolve. And here is where you have the bonus for Revive, which grants bonus health for 2 minutes upon reviving, as well as reduced cast time and teleport by 0.5 seconds. I don't think that's been changed. Neither is the Flash one. Clarity increases mana restore by 25%. I believe that has been changed. I think it used to be everybody gets the same mana. Now it is increased mana restore by 25%. Clairvoyance grants additional vision of enemy champions revealed. And I believe, if I read correctly, that means that if you hit somebody with Clairvoyance and it marks them kind of like with a Nidalee trap or Caitlyn trap, and you can see them for a little bit of extended time if they walk out of Clairvoyance or whatever, which is pretty neat. From there, you can grab Wanderer, which is increased movement speed out of combat. So down at the bottom is the base increased movement speed instead of at the beginning like it was before. Now you have increased movement speed out of combat. The mana regen is now in the first tier instead of the second tier, which has been switched with the mana per level, which is now in the second tier. Improved recall is still here. Now, the Scout used to give you additional range, period. Now it only gives increased range for the first 3 seconds, so I feel like this has become almost useless, I would say, because the first 3 seconds of placing a ward, unless you're like trying to get a ward over Baron so you can see if they're doing it without getting closer, that's the only use I can see for it. Otherwise, it seems kind of pointless to me. If you guys have any thoughts, leave it in the comments. Mastermind, which is increased or reduced cooldown of summoner spells, is now in the second tier, so you can get all the way up to 10% reduced summoner spells only in the second tier utility, which will be pretty useful. It's pretty great, actually. And then Expanded Mind is mana per level, get up to 180 mana at level 18, which allows you to spec into Strength of Spirit, which is tier 3, which grants up to a total of 3 health regen per 5 seconds for each 400 maximum mana you possess. So if you're Rise and you have a ton of mana, you can get an extra 3 health regen per 5 for every 400 mana you have. So let's say you had 1200 mana, he would get a total of 9 health regen per 5 seconds. So that's how that works. It seems it's not that great, but I mean, I guess I can kind of see a use for it depending on who you're playing. Then the last spell in utility tier 2 is Artificer, which reduces the cooldown of activated items by up to 15%, which is really, really good. Now, into tier 3, which lands us in Greed, which you can put 4 points into, which is 2 gold per 10 seconds, which is not that great, I would say. I think it was better before, but they allow you to spec it. That you have to grab that in order to spec into Wealth, which is increasing your starting gold by 50 now. So they kind of like force you into grabbing it, and so they lowered the amount to kind of even it out, I suppose. Next, in Tier 3, you can get Runic Affinity, which increases the duration of Shine, Relic, and Quest neutral monster buffs by 20%. And that is just as it was before, I believe. The final spell in our mastery in Tier 3 is Biscuiteer, which is based off Total Biscuit's item that he wanted forever. It was all over Twitter. He was like, oh, yay, they finally made my item. And Biscuiteer starts a game with a regenerative biscuit that restores 80 health and 50 mana over 10 seconds. So it's kind of good for supports who don't really have the extra money. They're going to be buying wards with. And then it's also kind of good for junglers, because if you spec into that, it can give you basically an extra potion, which is kind of good, especially for people who maybe need mana, such as Nocturne, but don't necessarily want to start blue, because then you can start red, get that early level 2 gank, and still have some mana by using this biscuit. So it's a pretty good spell, I think. And then from there, the other good part is that you can go into the Tier 4 Mastery, which is Explorer. On Summoner's Rift, grants a ward at the start of the game that can be placed to reveal surrounding area for 60 seconds, which I think is fantastic for junglers. Because if you can grab this, you can go start somewhere and put that ward down starting at like about a minute, and that way you have an extra ward that the support doesn't have to place down that can prevent those early jungle ganks. So you can run and you can put that down if you're like don't have people helping you, or you want to put it down somewhere like at red if you're starting at blue, so that way they can't invade, and the support doesn't have to waste a ward. And it's pretty useful, especially like if let's say you have an AFK and nobody's coming to leash you or whatever. It's really, really helpful, I would think. And if you're not on Summoner's Rift, well, you get 25 starting gold. So it's kind of like if you don't have time to change your masteries and you were playing a Dominion, you start with 25 extra gold. So in Vampire, and then we'll move on to the next, which is now Tier 4. And this is where the Spell Vamp and Lifesteal is now. It's in one mastery. You get up to 3% lifesteal and 3% spell vamp. It's not as great as before, so it's eh. As well as in here, you have the extra experience. You can go all the way up to an extra 5% experience. And then Tier 5, you can get Pickpocket, which is pretty handy, especially as a support. You grant 5 gold for melee champions and 3 gold for ranged champions each time you perform a basic attack on an enemy champion, 5-second cooldown. So that's really good for supports who need the gold so they can harass and get money. And I would say it's pretty good on AP mids as well, because if they don't auto attack as much on a champion, they're kind of focused on farming and they use their spells. So every 5 seconds, if you can get an extra 3 gold, it might be okay, but I think it's more geared towards supports. Then the second spell in Tier 5 is the cooldown reduction in general, which is up to 6%. And then the final spell is an extra 3% movement speed. So that's it for this video, guys. I just wanted to talk about the new masteries. In the next video, we're going to be covering some basic mastery builds, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next video.